and welcome to another episode of Viva, Aaliyah. We are almost halfway through season 3, which is crazy to even think about. And so, Dominic and I are always plotting behind the scenes and figuring out what's next for the next season. So we're already thinking about what we're going to do for season 4. As most of you know, one of our goals in life is to make sure that we are in front of a live audience and not just a digital audience. So we will be doing that in the future. But we have an amazing show for you today. I know you've seen me posting about this. I have it on my monthly calendar of events. I'm very, very, very excited to talk to these two beautiful human beings. One of them I've actually known for my entire drag career, which is 16 years strong. I met them, I think, probably like day one. They were in the audience, and just we had such a great time. We kind of, we both frequented a bar called the Chrome Cat together back in the day. And I'm very excited to chat with them. For those of you who saw, I did have 3 people posted for today. We are still going to get some amazing stories. One of our guests, unfortunately, had a family emergency. So we are sending all of our Viva love out to you, Chase. And we will definitely be chatting with you soon. However, these 2 beauties are coming up, and I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and then we're going to come together and chat with you. Once again, if you have any questions, comments, go ahead and mark that down in the comment section, and Dominic will be sifting through those to make sure that we have all the best comments up there. And even if your comment doesn't go up, I will make sure to go back and chat with you later. Also, for anybody out there listening in podcast land, you can catch us at www.AaliyahMartinezQueen.com. And that is where you can link to all of our shows, find out where we are streaming live, 8 p.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday, that we are going. But anyway, let's get going on this beautiful interview. This beautiful soul is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being. And just chatting backstage, I felt like we had seen each other yesterday. So I want y'all to give it up for my dear friend, Andrea Norton. Yes! Or as you will hear me call them, Drea, which is how I've known you our entire existence together.
I'm so excited to see you. It really does feel like yesterday. I mean, I remember, like, so many memories came flooding back when you asked me to do this. Like, I do remember, like, so many good memories from the Chrome Cat. Like, that was one of the best times of my life, It just getting out of the military and going back to school, that was the time that I had. Like, I got to relive the moments that I didn't have because I joined the military right out of high school. So it was like I got to just kind of relive the college years there, and that's when I met you, and I just have so many good memories from that time.
It's so funny. Lansing, Michigan, it is the capital city, but it's so small town, and I feel like there were 3 bars right there in that area. There was the Chrome Cat, there was Spiral, there was Esquire, and I just feel like we just all kind of bopped around together and had such cool experiences.
It was a sense of community that I didn't have before, that I had in the military, and I was so missing. And I found that in the queer community at Lansing, because it was already kind of an established environment, it was so nice to belong, to have that sense of belonging.
It really was. And I know you went by they before, so I always just start with they, but she, her, they, them. What are your pronouns, just for our audience out there?
She, her.
Okay. Wonderful. We update ourselves. I always say, which is true for me, I go by all because I do drag. I live my life as a man, and then sometimes it's easier to say they for everybody because
I certainly wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I think when you don't know, that's kind of an okay default.
I have a very important question for you, and I want to make sure we get this one down and right up on the front end. What are we drinking today? What's in your glass, honey?
Well, I have a beer. This is what it is. It is a Sierra Nevada little big IPA little thing. I don't know. It's delicious.
Cheers to you. All right, so this entire episode. Oh, love the bookshelf. That's my husband, by the way.
Hello.
We'll actually be in May, so maybe you can meet him. That would be wonderful. All right, so this entire episode is going to be about LGBTQ people in the military. You obviously just said you joined the military basically right out of high school. So what was your experience like in the military as an LGBTQ or queer person?
Well, it was interesting because like my joining the military in the first place was kind of like I say it now as a short-sighted act of rebellion because I was kind of like one of those, I was a stoner chick. I was just one of those hippie people that smoked pot all the time and was like, okay, what would be the last thing anyone would expect me to do? Join the military. And so that's what attracted me to it. It was like, because, you know, I don't have to listen to what you tell me to do. I can do whatever I want, you know? So I joined the military because I didn't want to listen to my mom tell me what to do. So I get to listen to everybody tell me what to do. So it really, a little short-sighted, but ultimately, I don't think I was really ready to go to college, honestly. I don't think I would have fared well. So I think I inherently knew that I needed some of the structure that the military provided, but I didn't know what to expect. I didn't come from a military family. I knew I was queer from 11, so it was something that was always kind of in the back of my mind, but I was born and raised in Bay City, Michigan. It was not necessarily the bastion of diversity. So it was, I kind of always knew that was a part of me, but when I got to my first duty station, I did fall in love with a woman. I was 19 and, she's my best friend in the whole wide world today. But at the time, it was really hard because you always knew there was a wall there, it was so risky, to really be all in a relationship like that because the ramifications of it were too great. I mean, I watched people get kicked out of the military just because of who they loved, that's a big deal. To get anything other than an honorable discharge is a huge barrier. I mean, it's a barrier to employment. It's a barrier to so much. So it's even though I had all these feelings, it was you weigh it against what the consequences could be if you got caught. Because the entire 8.5 years I was in the military was under don't ask, don't tell. So it seemed too risky. So I never really was able to fulfill that kind of a relationship. And it was really hard because it's and it's not like there aren't queer people in the military. You find that community, even if it's just a wink and a nod, you kind of, where it exists, but it's still, you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always, you have to be very careful about what you say and who you say it to. And, things that people would take for granted, just in your office or cubicle area, having a picture of your loved ones, that's something nobody would really think about. But at the time, that, there were serious consequences to someone finding out. So it's I think by and large, the biggest thing is that you aren't able to fully show up as who you are. You're never able to occupy a space, no matter what it is, as your full self. And that's really hard. The amount of mental energy that that you have to like really manage all of those things is just a lot. It was really hard.
And for you, can you let us know what years you were actively in the military?
Yep, I joined the military in, I'm going to totally age myself. I hate you for this, but I'm teasing. I joined the military in July 15th of 1998. That's when I left for the Air Force. And my first duty station was in Virginia, which was also really interesting because to be in kind of the Bible Belt, like, when you're born and raised in the Midwest nice thing, like where, you don't, like, things aren't as overt as
the rugs.
Yeah. And well, like, I remember being in Virginia and like being horrified hearing like some 80-year-old woman like use the N-word as like a descriptor. Like it was just like it just was a commonplace normal thing. And like this is this little lady, like this grandma type person. And it was just like you didn't hear those things, maybe it was the like polite white kind of discourse in the Midwest, but not to say obviously like racism exists in the Midwest, but it wasn't in the like just normalized kind of overt way that it was in the South. That was really eye-opening for me. Especially being 18 and the first time I'm out and about on my own, it was a lot.
I believe that. So you said something that I didn't even think about, and I come from a military family. So actually, I'll say this first. I kind of did the opposite of what you did. My dad's in the military. My stepmom's in the military. My stepsister's in the military. It's just like a family thing. And I didn't join the military. Like that was a conscious thought in my mind to be the rebel, like you were, opposite of that. And
that's so interesting.
Yeah, and I think about that quite often. Like, would I have joined the military? I don't know, but something that you said that piqued my interest a little bit was thinking about even having a photo of somebody that you care about or love, or like, you watch all of these old war movies and they say, I kept your picture in my pocket when I was in service, and you couldn't really do stuff like that, or you had to be extra sneaky and careful about it. And that's just, it's kind of mind-blowing,
Well, because you think of like what that would do to a relationship that if you even like took the, really like had it in you that you wanted to try at least, because you had all these feelings and stuff, it's always going to limit your ability to fully like have that level of intimacy because you're just, there's always this underlying thing that like you can't fully go there because it's too risky. And so it's just you limit love in your life, and that's sad to me, like to think of like, it took me a long time to stop asking like, what if, I wonder what, I wonder how, like to not have that. And it was a lot of reconciling when I got out of the military to like, okay, well, you do the best with what you're given in the environment you're in, and you can't really hold that against you,
Right. I'm going to actually ask you one more question, and then I know Sean's backstage and listening, so I'm going to ask each of you the first two questions that I sent you, and then I'm going to bring us back together for the last two.
Sure.
I think bouncing off of each other a little bit might be kind of, I don't have the experience that both of you have, having been in the military as queer people, and so I would love for each of you to kind of like expand on each other even with your experiences. So the question I'm going to ask you is, do you feel like, and again, this is your opinion, and I probably share both of your opinions on this, but do you feel like the military is a safe space for queer people today?
Well, I I mean, it was 14 years since I got out. I got out in 2007. So, it really, I would have a hard time speaking about it to present day because I don't exactly know. I don't have as many military ties. But what I do know is that it's really, even when I was in, it was utterly dependent on your command in your leadership. It was a leadership thing because where I was stationed, like my first roommate in the military was as gay as the day is long. I mean, it literally, like, he was like Jack. It was like living with Jack on Will and Grace, like just Jack. Like, he was gay. And the thing is, like, nobody cared in my command. My commander didn't care, like, because he was so good at his job that it wasn't an issue, and so I found that was the case in a lot of places. It really depended on your leadership if they made it an issue or not, because our commander, like, it just, did you do your job? Could you do your job well? That was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't an issue, but on the same base, I saw other commands where people got kicked out. So I think that probably likely is the case now. I mean, there's policies and whatnot that are overarching in the military, but the fidelity at which you adhere to them seems to be command dependent. And I think that really is probably the case now. I would find it hard to believe that it wasn't the case.
So that
it's a leadership issue.
Sorry.
No.
I was just going to say that it kind of answers the questions that I'm going to ask as a quick follow-up. But do you feel like the branch of the military that you were in also had an effect on anything that had to do with queer people?
Absolutely. I was in the Air Force, and I think the Air Force gets a lot of leeway being the youngest branch of the military. They don't have as much history and tradition that can act as a barrier sometimes. The whole adage, like, this is the way we've always done it and this is the way we're going to do it kind of thing. That doesn't exist as much. I mean, it does to some degree in the Air Force, but, like, I think that branch has a lot more freedom to innovate and to be a little bit more forward thinking. And I've seen that since I've gotten out, like, that they take the lead on a lot of diversity issues and stuff. And I think it's because they don't have 200 plus years of tradition that is overarching it. So I think the Air Force has a lot more leeway and freedom maybe to be on the front end of some of these issues. I mean, that's my opinion, at least.
And again, I mean, I bring people on this show for the Viva Aaliyah is about queer people telling our stories our way. So please, opinion all day long, babe. All right, I'm gonna give you a quick break. I'm gonna intro our next guest, and then we're all gonna come back together for the last two questions because I really think that it would be much better to have both of you together. So I will see you in just a minute, and we are going to bring on another beautiful human being. I met this very handsome man. Being lucky to work with the Continental System, I have been a regular host of one of their prelims year after year after year, and I have seen him slay on stage. I'm pretty sure he is unbeatable in the swimwear category. But for now, we're going to talk about military experience. And so this is one of the most beautiful human beings. Also, we don't have anything but beautiful human beings on this show, but his name is Sean Von Carter.
Hi. Thank you for such high praise. I appreciate it.
Unbeatable in swimwear, right?
I'll take it. Sell it, baby.
You at least, in my opinion, get the award for most least swimwear fabric in the category.
Well, I will say there's someone that a lot of us envy, and I was mad with the last one because I was happy with my last Continental swimwear, but then I saw his and how little it was, and I was like, what the fuck were we doing? Yeah, I should be wearing as little clothes as possible because that really identifies with me, to what they want. So
yeah, I mean, it's what we all want.
I mean, hey, not some of the judges, the way they score, it may be too much.
I'm just gonna hold my own competition. That's gonna be only swimwear for male.
just book me for go-go dancing. You'll get so much more.
There we go. So, my dear, how have you been? We've been chatting in the virtual world, but I haven't been able to, again, virtual, but I actually at least get to see your face and we get to see you in person. So how have you been?
I've been good. I am currently getting my master's in social work, which was with Fordham University, which is something I said with COVID. I was like sitting at home like, this is just do it. Like things won't be the same. So I'm actually like traveling now and, doing classes online, which feels amazing. And it also feels right for this time because I have a lot of friends who complain about debt and school debt and their degrees and even going to school. And it's like, I wish I could be like, this is not the way they sold school to us, to be in like Puerto Vallarta on your computer doing classes. Like that's something to be done. You don't have to be in a classroom with some teacher and overcrowded. So it's interesting for this time of year to really come into that. So
and stuff like that. No time like the present.
You just got to knock it out.
So my first question for you is the same, but it's the most important. Are you having a cocktail? Are you drinking anything? Do you have a Diet Coke in your glass? What are we drinking?
So I have a water because I'm making sure I keep up, but I was logged on to the stream about 2 hours ago because of the time zone, and I thought I was ready. And I had a pina colada ready for you. So now we just have waters.
Sometimes they just disappear, right?
I could have gotten another one. I'll get one after this. So
I'm going to say this really quick because I can see everything that's going on backstage. You, Andrea, are like so into each other's stories. I just watched you watching her and she's watching you right now. And I'm loving this. That's actually why I watched you watch her and like agree and like shake your head and you were doing this and stuff. I was like, I need to get the last two questions with them together. So, all right. So your experience in the military as a LGBTQ plus or queer person, I definitely want to hear that story, but I also, I forgot to put this in the beginning of Andrea's question, but tell us about the branch you were in as well.
So I was in the Army. I did 7 years as a medic, combat medic, and then as a behavioral health specialist. I did both reserves, and then I was like, I'm bored. Put me on active duty, and I went to active duty, and then I was like, I'm bored. Send me to Iraq. So then I went to Iraq, and it was very eventful. I think sometimes the biggest problem is not our sexuality in the military. Like it wasn't for me. The biggest thing is that I'm such a big personality. Sometimes I can be extra. I've definitely like gotten my stuff together since then. I'll say that since the military. I wish I was who I was back then. I would have been a lot higher, but being all the extra and face and moving hands is a lot. And then in the military stance is a lot. So I found it difficult more of the kind of the things they throw in with being gay, like the flamboyancy, all that stuff we kind of associated, to be the things that interrupted me more rather than what my sexuality was. Because at the end of the day, like she said, I did my job, my job correctly. So yeah.
So with kind of like the extraness, as you say it, do you feel like you had like different commanding officers that were acted different ways towards you? Did you have the same experience as Drea did, where your commanding officer was more accepting? Did you see other people struggle with their sexuality in the military?
Especially as a behavioral health specialist, I've counseled people who've been through it all with the different commands. Command is absolutely the number one thing that I tell people. I'm like, I still recommend the military to people. It did wonders for me. And I think overall, it can do wonders for a lot of people. Unfortunately, it does end up, like commanders and stuff. The best way for some people to really get it is like, you want to see how something's not there and then somehow something's there. if you think about how somehow the Republicans somehow are making these new rules, and then suddenly there's a problem, you can have commands that can make those moves, who have those mind frames like, I'm going to get him either way, or I'm going to get him out. And then that, unfortunately, are the ones that, or even just, I'll give him hell till he commits suicide and we have to med board him out, which is something very frequently, especially with our community.
Yeah. Did you have it? Were you close to anybody in the military so you're obviously like, I hope you don't mind me saying this, you're a very masculine presenting man. I mean, if we were just to look at you though, you're a taller man, you're muscular, you're what people think about when they think like masculine, I know you can cut up with the girls just as well as the guys. And we've had our good times together, and we've hung out and had a good time at the drag pageants, but do you feel like the other people around you, and I'm not trying to get this to go one way or the other, I'm just trying to continue to question here. Do you feel like the other people around you who weren't necessarily as like masculine presenting, or were more masculine presenting, that were female in the military, had a harder time than you may have?
I've definitely not always been mass presenting, and even though we shouldn't hold that to some type of esteem or something, I'm also just like, whatever, like, I guess we hold it, but at the military, I definitely wasn't as masculine. I definitely got bulkier and muscular when I got out of the military. I'm in better shape now than I was when I was in the military. But also I was one of the more louder personalities, but it's also one of the problems I have is naturally me. When you tell someone to tone stuff down, you're just like, you might not just belong here, because it's a certain point of me telling you to tone it down where it's like compromising to who you are. So me, I just am who I am, and I would get in trouble, whether it happened or not. So other people definitely would look at me and not go as far, or definitely hung around a lot of people who were very comfortable with their closeted lives in the military, and no photographs when we went out. I had a lot of friends like that, and things like, yeah.
Do you feel like the Army is an accepting branch in the military overall, or is it based on, like we had said earlier, like commanding officers and just who you're around?
I would say, honestly, overall, yes, because there are a lot of parts of the military to work in with a lot of different amazing sergeants, first sergeants, commanders who are just regular people doing their jobs, who are mothers and fathers, and they have those hearts. So I've been lucky enough where all my commands, haven't been horrible. And there's a lot of different places in the military that you can go where you'll have a commander who will look out for you. Whether whether you're in infantry or medcom. I'm used to medcom. Infantry is a lot harder for a lot of us in the community. I mean, for some, but for some they were, more straight acting, so they were able to brush it off. But it definitely has a lot of people in all of the parts of the military in the Army, specifically a lot of Black women. What I want to point out, who shaped my career and that were very supportive, and saw the same thing my mother saw in me. We was like, this boy ain't stupid, but we sure as hell got to protect him, because he is going to kill himself, like maybe all of us, So I've had a lot of Black women in my life who like saw my potential and worked on that, including in the military.
It's funny you say that. I feel like a lot of us, as I do not live my life as a woman, for anybody out there wondering, but for a lot of us gay or queer men, I've flocked towards women. I mean, Drea knows this, and at the Chrome Cat where I used to work and she used to frequent, it was a women/lesbian bar, and it was a safe space really for me, just to be around all of those powerful women who really had their own insight into the world and had positions of power within the queer community of where we came from, Lansing, which is its own community. But you were drawn towards the women in the military, and they protected you like those women protected me in my young queer life. So it's very interesting to hear how there's still that kind of that comfort in women in the military even?
Well, I mean, I would be, I don't know the technical term they say, but didn't they say that Black women are the backbone of the country or of the, Democratic Party? So you see them everywhere and you give them their flowers. And it wasn't just Black women, of course. I got to say that because I have a Latina. I still talk to half Korean, half So a lot of people. I have to always point out just the women in general were the parts of the military that some could say were soft, but it was the softness needed because it could be so rigid with some of these people and their brains not being able to change and also not needing to change because they have that power.
I love that. I was like, do I have a follow-up question for that? I do not, because that's what needed to be said about that. As far as the military being a safe space for LGBTQ plus queer people today, and let's say like today, May 1st, it is May 1st, right? Yeah, May 1st, 2021. What are your opinions on that?
I have also been out for a while, since 2012. However, the one thing I will say that I could say, yes, it is the change of command from Trump to Biden, because, Biden, if anything, more than Obama, understands the importance of the troops and understands our sacrifice. He understands how much families sacrifice. And under Trump, I would have given you a totally different thing. I would say, don't do it. We talk about command. I said, you literally could be, somewhere, and it could just be because he felt like it and he started moving stuff. So to have a president like Biden, who's in office, to know what the family, he's lost a son. So he understands that sacrifice that we put on the line and the time we give away from our families, whether we're trans or, gay or whatever. We're all said, I'm going to serve. And he understands how important that is.
And as far as the years you spent in the military, when did you enter? Since I asked Drea that very personal but beautiful question. When did you enter? And you said you left in 2012, correct?
Yes, I went in 2005, right after high school, and then I got out in 2012. My quick story is no one wanted to help me pay for college, and I swore I was getting into Juilliard, and I did not get into Juilliard. So I said goodbye, and there I was. So I went from arabesque to front-leaning rest, as we say. I've never said that, but I'm actually pretty excited about that.
Vicky Rush, hi. Happy birthday, Vaughn. Love you. Yes. All right, my dear. We are going to take a very quick break, and then we're going to come back with both you and Drea. We're going to chat about the rest of the questions. You kind of actually had the perfect segue into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Biden administration, about the Trump administration, and what both administrations mean and meant for the military. So we will be right back after a word about our sponsors, and I will see both of you in just a second.
Viva Aaliyah is proudly sponsored by Big Girl Nails by Coco. For all of your nail needs, check out at Big Girl Nails by Coco on Instagram. Viva Aaliyah is proudly sponsored by Fierce Drag Jewels. For all of your sparkly needs, check out fiercedragjewels.com. Fierce Drag Jewels is also the crown and jewelry sponsor for the Viva Entertainer Pageant 2021.
All right, welcome back, Divas. We took a very quick break. Like I said, we have more to discuss about the military. I even had speaking of command, we had a change in drink command for me because I ran out of one type of alcohol and jumped to, actually it's both vodka, but one's a flavored, one's not. So we are going to bring back both of my guests, Drea and Sean. Come on back, both of you, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have both of you together. First off, I'm going to go off script a little bit. Drea, was there anything that resonated with you about what Sean said that made you think like, oh, that's something that I also dealt with or had an experience as?
Well, I think the notion that women are the keepers of the culture, even when it's in the military. I mean, even though it's a very hyper masculinized environment, when you think of who is carrying the culture, I think women always do, and that you find community with women, and in terms of safety too. That was my experience as well. You always know where the safe spaces are. Like, you can always find them, even when you're in environments that might not on their face feel that way. Like, you can find those, you can find community even in the most unlikely places. So women definitely were who helped me along the way as well. So that definitely resonated.
And Sean, sorry, I know I'm making you go back to the beginning of this interview, but anything that Drea said that kind of resonated with you? I know you came right after her, but was there anything else that she had said that kind of like really stuck with you through?
I co-signed everything, so just and then replay everything that was just said. I co-signed all of it. Like I said, particularly the command, because it's important with some people to realize sometimes it's not you. One of the biggest things I learned in the military is they kept saying, sometimes you're going to be smarter than your supervisors. And they consistently said that over and over. And then when I got to where I'm at in life, no tea, no shade, I realized how freaking smart I am and how much of a problem that can be when you're in a position where you're the smartest person in the room. And it's a regular thing because they did promote a lot of people where you'd be like, how'd they get in? Oh, you got the
Peter principle is alive and well in the military.
Yep. So that was one big thing I took with me, that is just like, wow, the command can really do a bunch of different things. I have a long story that's not for here, but I felt privileged that I was able to kind of fight back against my command and, write the letters to the people that I needed to write to say, hey, this bullshit, what is this? And then, within 3 weeks, everyone's up in arms. And it's like, it's part of my personality sometime to make people do that. But I also know y'all wasn't doing nothing before I made y'all go up in arms. So, and I know too many people who were in my position who weren't that lucky and, got stuck in the system.
So what I'm hearing you say, Vaughn, is that you're going to be a great social worker.
Yeah. And I plan on working for the military as well. That's at the top of my list. Hopefully outside of the U.S., so I don't have to deal with changing administrations. So
that's amazing.
Well, as a social worker, I'm eager to have you as a colleague.
You know what? I don't know why I didn't even think of that. You are both social workers. Yes, that's crazy. But also something you said that I want to make very clear: always know your own worth. Everybody, always know your own worth. Always know that it is okay to praise yourself. Always know that you can be your biggest cheerleader, and that saying you are smart is not being arrogant. It is not being conceited. It is stating a fact that you have done your due diligence and you know where you stand in this world. So all of that. Speaking out is the best form of protest and best cure for change. Khalil Valentino, yes, babe. Absolutely.
That's something it's interesting. A lot of things are coming full circle because like speaking out is kind of big now. And I'm just like, oh, I've been in trouble for this a long time. And then I also want to say one thing I haven't said a lot to people is I'm really enjoying wearing these masks because I kept getting in trouble with my face in the military.
Oh my God, it's been brilliant.
I've had sergeants who are like, your face is giving me disrespect. I give them and they'd be like, your face is giving me disrespect. I'm going to write you up.
I have like the best da fuck face is what I call it.
I hear that. I was not in the military, but my father was actually Marine Corps, and so that's the branch of the military that my family comes from. And everything is you have to be, they've been retired since I left high school, but they're still Marines.
A Marine, always a Marine. You are never not a Marine. There is no such thing as a former Marine. I made that mistake once.
Yeah,
exactly what it is.
there's something called the Marine, and for any of you out there who love the Marine Corps, great. I have my own experience with it, but there's something called the Marine Corps League, and they are both avid, like they're commandants and all those other terms, whatever they want to call themselves, and just continue to be that. So anyway. Sean, I'm going to start with you on this one. What did because you started talking about this a little bit, what did the last administration mean? So not Biden, but the last one, 45. What did that orange sickle, creamsicle mean to LGBT people in the military? You kind of started on this, and that's why I definitely wanted to start with you on this. Let's have it.
I think one of the things I've realized being a Black person, being a gay person, that I will be entering, and I have entered a lot of spaces where I'm not normal, where it's not the norm. And then I feel, and a lot of it is because American privilege, the room needs to adapt to me and change because I'm American, it's part of my privilege. And when Trump came into office, it definitely was like the hardcore people, say minus the women, as we were talking about, just shut all the women up and say, this is what we're going to do. No, that's crap. No, I don't want to worry about their feelings. That's crap. And it was, I would say it was some detrimental for some. However, a lot of the community that I've worked with like being in the military. I know friends who have retired from the military. I know people who've been in 20 something, whatever years. And they will say, gay's not the main thing, gay's whatever. And they don't put who they're screwing or who their sexuality is on the front burner to be a problem. So even under that, in Trump, it was fine, whatever. But I think under Biden and the current administration, it's a lot easier for people to open up if they feel the need to, specifically younger people, because the career people aren't gonna risk it where, one day they're okay and then the next day, like Trump did, and you flip over something and then you're out. That's always been a thing where you don't want the next person to come and flip it. So those career people are much more, they know how to keep under the radar or play the game, as I say, which I'm not very good at. So
no, neither was I.
Dre, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does something when you hear from your commander in chief that you're not welcome. And that's what the message was. So I think Von's exactly right that like the people who were career knew, okay, lock it up. Don't, like really, this is pushed down and under wraps and like, okay, we'll press on. But like, I think that does something to the psyche. Like I said before, you're not able to fully show up. And if you're not able to fully show up as who you are in any room that you're in, you're not going to be able to give 100%. It's just, there's just going to be a part of the mental energy that you expel that is going to be managing what you say and what you think, all of the things that are protecting your identity. And that, I think that's a shame because how much more could queer people offer if they didn't have that in the back of their minds? I mean, one of the things that I realized working in the government now that I learned from the Air Force was take care of your people and they will take care of the mission. That was a value that was expounded like from the time that I entered the Air Force. The whole time I saw that value play out, and I don't think you're able to do that if you have to hide fundamentally who you are, like at the core of everything you do. If you have to hide who you are, you're not gonna, like, they're not gonna be able to take care of you so you can take care of the mission. I think when you hear that from your commander in chief, that you are not valued, that you are not a part of the team, that you are not who you are is fundamentally antithetical to the military way of life, that's got to do something to your psyche. I think, like you said, like Bon said, like if your career, if that's what you have decided to do, you're gonna keep that under wraps. But what I see with the Biden administration, I mean, that who you are is valued. You know, like when, you know, just a couple of days ago during the joint session in Congress, when he actually came out and said that trans people are valued. I mean, obviously, I'm not speaking like completely, like I don't know exactly verbatim what he said, but like when that message was given, I mean, I have to believe that for all the trans people in the military, that they heard that they matter. When that is the fundamental core of what you know from your commander in chief, how much better are you going to be able to serve? How much more of yourself is going to be able to show up? I think that by and large has got to make you more effective at the mission. And so I think that matters. I see that now in terms of veterans, you know, like I see this administration, like the Secretary of the VA, like when he comes out and says, it's not just like, let's explore what possibly could happen. But when he said, I want to know what measures need to happen to make sure that like gender confirmation surgery can happen. It's not just like, could we possibly maybe see if this might be a thing? It's what do we need to do to make this a thing? That language is a lot stronger. When the language is stronger, when people's identity is valued, I have to believe that, because even just vicariously, I felt that. Like I felt that these people matter. Yeah. And when you know that you matter, you're going to give 100%.
I hear that.
That's just what, I mean, that's just a given. And if you feel like you have to hide who you are, what percentage of yourself is not going to be able to be dedicated to the mission? It's just not, it's not effective for mission readiness.
Yeah. Sean, you said something, thank you both, by the way, sorry. I'm going through my mind, my Rolodex of things that you both said. Sean, you said something about being able to fly under the radar. Now, as a social worker, as somebody who is there to help people be themselves and live true and still function in their job in the military, since you want to work with military people, how do you feel flying under the radar works? Is it something that people should continue to do, need to do, want to do? I guess that there's something and this is, again, my opinion, and I am more than happy to have either one of your opinions be different from mine, because that's what makes us individuals. But flying under the radar to me is still being in hiding in a way. That's how I perceive it. What is your perception, Sean, of people being comfortable being on the radar in the military?
I'll say that it's obviously it's different for different people.
Yeah.
And it's important to realize that so many people, that gay is just a part of them. Gay is just whether they suck dick or eat booty. Like that's literally it. And that's literally the extent of their sexuality. And they say, well, if that makes me gay, that's what I am. But you know, that's all I want. And so when you think about that, and then you think about being at work, they'll be like, what that booty hole got to do with this job, you know? So even when I fought Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and I was writing letters, you know, to the newspaper in Iraq, I was just like, I don't see even why this is a problem. Like, even like, I don't care like who you're screwing. I'd rather not care, because usually y'all straight people have these ugly wives anyway, because that's how a lot of these people in the military, you know, they marry their first love, and then and then they want to talk about us, you know, coming for them and what. That's so when it comes to being passable and what your question, I just think, for some, it was just not a part. It's not important to who they are. And like I said, even I would have people that would be rubbed up against me wrong, who I rub up against wrong because they're bigots. It's 2021. We can call it what it is. They were bigots. They were homophobes. They were racist, and they have that power and they want to use it, and they don't like that you're in their space, and you have that. But everybody else, it's like, you got your paperwork in, if they're not on some ego trip or whatever, you're passable or whatever, didn't matter as long as your job was what was happening and not your sex life.
Yeah, I love that. Sorry, really quick. I definitely want you to answer this as well. I guess that's kind of what I was looking for when and if it came out differently, so be it. But I feel like there is an agreement here that it shouldn't be about who you love. It shouldn't be about your gender. It shouldn't be about your skin color. It shouldn't be about any of that. We should be able to just be and do the job that we came to do. And that's what I heard from you, Sean. And I know, Dre, you agree with that, but I will let you expand on that in just a second. I want to. The reason I asked the question is because passable means that we are passing for something that we shouldn't have to pass for. And you're right. Like, it doesn't matter if you are a lesbian or a gay man or a trans person or any of those things, or what you consider takeout. What you're eating is what I'm saying. But it should be about doing the job, and all of the words and everything you said is okay on the show. I say fuck quite often on this show, and all of those things. But that's what I wanted to hear is your interpretation of that. So thank you.
I will add real quick, since we're in the pageant world. And I feel like I've been jumping from abusive relationship to abusive relationship sometimes, because I left the military where I was just like, screw this constriction. I want to be free. I'm going to be who I am to the greatest extent. Oh, great. Let me join pageantry. And, into another box where masculinity may be a thing, and, all of that kind of thing, that. So it has a lot of parallels between each other. But in the same thing, when you bring up passable or how feminine or masculine it is, most people, especially the people who have a right brain of pageantry, will say it's not about whether you're masculine or feminine. It's if you're selling what you're selling on stage. If we're buying it, whatever that is, that's what matters. Not necessarily that you're feminine or something. If it looks out of place, that's the problem. Sometimes in the military, you catch some things. You're like, that don't look right. That's when you have a problem.
Yeah, I think the military was the most diverse environment I'd ever been in. I mean, literally, it is the most diverse environment I think that exists. So like, I came from a high school that was surrounded by cornfields. It definitely was not the bastion of diversity at all. I mean, there was 5 non-white kids in my graduating class of 400 plus. So definitely not diverse. And so I joined the military, and it's the most diverse by age, race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, all of the things. And so I think there is some truth to that. Like, there is a saying that we all bleed green. Like, and I think that the military, because it is a culture that you get indoctrinated into, like it exists as its own thing, that like if you're in the right command, it will appreciate that diversity, and because diversity wherever you are is gonna be a strength. And if you have a good command, a good leadership that recognizes that, then queer people are going to be welcomed into the fold, just like any other diverse group would, because it's the strength of the group that ends up being a thing. So I think it really does matter where you are, but I think it should be a strength always.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is now, but I hope it is.
I mean, it's, you know, the military, and both of you have said this in one way or another, the military is a job. It's like going into any other company. You can go into Goldman Sachs, you can go into Sephora, you can go into social work, you can be in HR. I work full-time in HR, and let me tell you, some of the HR people I've come in contact with, we are supposed to be the champions of diversity and the champions of, you know, anybody who is looked over or whatever. I have seen some of the most ignorant, racist, bigoted, misgendering people out there, and it's just, it's sad. You know, Drea, similar to you, I went to a high school where I grew up around. You know, it was basically in a cornfield. It was, but I graduated with like 400 people. I was one of those 6 people that graduated. I was, you know, as I get older, I don't know where it goes, but my melanin goes somewhere out the window, apparently. But I was a lot darker when I was younger, and as one of the only, you know, Latin kids who, and everybody swore I didn't speak English because of that, even though I was very well known in the school. Like, you know, it was just the way that they functioned, and I think that's the same. It's the same environment. You either are what they are looking for, or you're not. You're not what they're looking for. You have to. We, unfortunately, as queer people, as people of color, as women, have to show that we are what they're looking for, almost 10 times harder sometimes. And we have to curb to the way that they view us and want to see us. So thank you both. I have not said this yet. I can't believe I haven't. Thank you both for serving the country and being just like beacons of light and showing people that it is okay to be a woman in the military, or a Black man in the military, or a person of color in the military, or a queer person in the military. Just like the things that you two have gone through, nobody can relive for you. And you know, the next woman will relive a different story than you, or the next queer Black man will live a different story than you. And it's just, it is what it is. And we live with this difference in who we are every single day. So, Drea, any last words for our audience? I am now in the point of the show where I'm rambling. So, Drea, any last words for our audience?
I guess I just want to, like, for anybody that is in any type of leadership role, the thing that I just want to continue to say, because it's something that I try to embody in my place of work, is take care of your people and they'll take care of the mission. Like, that we don't do that enough. We don't take care of our coworkers. We don't take care of each other. And I think that really limits our overall ability to take care of the mission. That was the thing that I learned from the military that I still carry with me today. And so that's what I would love to impart on people. Take care of each other.
Thank you for that. Sean, how about you? Any last words for our audience or anybody else out there that will listen to this later?
I will say that I am a heavy advocate of the military. I always want to be a recruiter. I still am outside. You know, I advise people to go in, but it isn't for everyone. It was an uphill battle for me. Luckily, I was smart enough to get what I needed, even when they tried to, you know, pull the rug from underneath me. I was able to, you know, land on top. But it can help a lot of people. But I do believe if you do considering it, you should definitely go to a counselor first, as in a mental health counselor, and speak to them. Some of y'all may not want to say nothing afterwards because some stuff might come up, but I didn't say that. But I definitely believe that it'll help to speak to someone before you go in, because the military might provide you structure, but you might have the intelligence and the drive to do it by yourself without needing to give the sacrifice needed for the military, since it's not for everybody. But I do highly recommend it. And if you do serve, remember that you're better than everybody else, because we're veterans.
I love that. And again, both of you had positive experiences as far as structure. So, both of you spoke to that, and this is definitely not me. This episode was not about me telling people that the military is bad for queer people. It is educating people on what the experience is like for queer people in the military. So thank you both. I
wouldn't be who I was today without the military. That really laid a foundation for my growth, and really it was pivotal to who I am.
Yeah.
And I always have to say, thank you, Charlie Company.
All right, company. I actually know what that means, and I am not in the military. So, anyway, I did say that I was going to ask both of you 2 questions. Both of you actually answered the second question, which was about the current administration. You went into how the current administration is doing better for other people. So I don't want our audience to think that I'm slighting them on anything. But thank you both for being on the show. Thank you both for your service. You are both amazing individuals. I love you both. You have nothing to share. And I will see you backstage in just a minute. I'm just going to close out the show. All right. Thank you, Sean, and thank you, Drea. Vivas, what an amazing show. 2 people I care about deeply and that I could not be more thankful for. Again, if you are thinking about joining the military can be for us. It can be for queer people. It can be for people of color. It can be for women. It can be for whoever wants to join. Just make sure that you're doing things just make sure you're doing things smartly for yourself. That's what I wanted to say. I am going to, this week we are not going to do a next week on because I'm going to do it because I had a little change in schedule. So next week I will actually be chatting with my Entertainer of the Year team. You will be able to hear from Team Talent because as most of you know, I am going to compete at another national competition at the end of July in Louisville, Kentucky. You can find out more information about my merchandise for that on my website. That is AaliyahMartinezQueen.com. And you can find out more about our episodes, our show, and when you can catch us air. If you are listening in again on Podcast Land, we are each and every Saturday night on social media. You can find me on most of my channels at Aaliyah Martinez Queen, or social media platforms, I should say. But I love you all, and thank you for being a part of our family. Next episode, like I said, is the EOY team. That is episode 7. And so we are 1 episode away after next week of being halfway through season 3. I want to thank my producer, Dominic, for being with me always and just being such an amazing person. And I want to thank my 2 guests today, Sean and Drea. Again, you are wonderful people, and I just could not imagine my life without either one of you. And we are also sending another bout of love to Chase, who was supposed to be with us tonight. I am sending you all the love, all the healing, and I hope your family is doing well. Until next week, Vivas, we will see you then. Viva Aaliyah.
Viva Aaliyah.